Okay. So I was saying yesterday we looked at the data quality issues here within this data set. But today we are going to see how to correct, how to use Power Query, which is a very, very useful machine. How we'll use it to clean the data, and we'll attempt to run some quick report, on this. Um, with our, task of getting what the data issues in here were, we got some insights into, we got some understanding rather of the data. We were able to see that this data set is about an IT accessories sales company. Okay, company that sells products like laptop, monitor, uh, and the likes of it. It's a data set that was recorded in the January of 2024, and it's a data or record of customers, their details and the sales that we made with them or the orders that they made with us. So that's a simple understanding of this type of data that we are working with. And do I have yes, I still have this open, thank God. In your data analytics life cycle, okay? The next step after getting what the objective is you understanding the data, okay? And understanding the data is as described here. You've been able to describe what your data set is about, basically in simple English, would showcase that you understand it, just exactly as I have, described the data set that we have in front of us. So without much talk, I'm going to close this and then load up Power BI. For those of us that don't have a Power BI desktop on our systems yet, I have sent a link that you can use to download Power BI desktop, okay? If you follow my cursor, follow this cursor, as I move down, this yellow column chart here, this is the logo for Power BI desktop. Okay, I'm going to click on it and open a blank report, a blank page. Okay, so it brings me here. I'm just gonna click on a blank for you to open a blank, a new report, and then we can start. Okay. Very quickly, this is what the first page of what Power BI desktop looks like. I'm saying that because we've got new people in class who may not be familiar with the Power BI desktop. But it's not too different from your Microsoft products, how the interface of Microsoft products, so, all your Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint, these ribbons that you see on top here are what you would normally find with Power BI, with Microsoft tools. You have your file, which when you click on it, brings you to these functions where you can open new or recently opened reports. You can save or save as, you can share, you can get data. We'll talk more about this get data and a few other things, very importantly, I'll show you options and settings. So under options and settings, let's see what options has got. It's opening that. So under options, you have all these different configurations that you can look through. I'm not going to spend time in class looking through each and every one of these, okay? But I'll need you to play around and, look at what you have behind this the scene, of this Power BI desktop within options, okay? One thing I would point out though is that two major headings that you have under options here, global and current file. Any changes you make under global would apply or would be applicable to every of your Power BI desktop file that you open or that you use. So if you want that configuration to be applicable to anytime you work in Power BI desktop, you can do that, under global. But if all you want to change is for your current file that you are working on, then you come and make that change here, okay? Like I said, I won't go into them because there's quite a lot to go through. And even me, I haven't really touched each and every one of these, but it will be nice to see what they are about. Okay, still under file, you also have under options and settings, we looked at options. You have data source settings. Data source, as the phrase implies, the source or the sources of your data, where you are bringing your data from. Okay, you can see recent or previous sources that have brought data in, from, okay? It says you can manage settings for data source that you have connected to using Power BI desktop, okay? And again, you can do it for data source in the current file. You see that when I clicked on current file, because we haven't brought any data in, there is no source to list here, okay? But you can also click on global permissions, which has got to do with, all of the files, that's Power BI file that I've got within this, within my laptop. Okay, you can export Power BI, PBIDs. I don't know the full meaning of that. Let's see if I click on it. Okay. So it says Power Platform data flows. So you can export Power BI files, I believe, or anything from Power Platform. You can not export. You can look at the data source of that. You can edit permission here. There will be different permission levels. When you are working within an organization, you'll be expected to, for data security purpose, you'll be expected to use your credential, your organization credential, and the privacy level at the moment is none, because this is not, it's my laptop and it's a private, it's my personal one. But if it's work, you'll be changing this to organizational, and signing in with your work credentials. Okay, that's that about that. Then you have home, and we are on home at the moment. And under home, you have all these different functions, or buttons. The very important, or your very first one that you will need when you are working anew you're just starting to create a new Power BI file or report, is this get data. Like the name implies, you are getting data, okay? Because many a time you'll be bringing the data from various sources into Power BI desktop. That is not to say that you can't create your data within Power BI desktop. You can manually create, but most of the time you'll be bringing data from either from online, different websites, SharePoints if you are working, if you're using it as work, a lot of websites, a lot of SharePoint folders or files, okay? But these are the common data sources that you'll be loading data into here from Excel workbook, Power BI semantic models, data flows. I mean, you don't have to concern yourself too much with many of these just yet, but it's good to know that they are there. but I clicked on more because there's quite a lot of sources. Depends on the different databases that your work store data in, and that you will be needing to get the data from. You won't need all of them, but it's good to know when you need which one. Okay, so right now we are going to be getting data from our Excel workbook, because that file is an Excel workbook, I believe, or CSV, whether Excel or text file, we'll see. Okay, if you don't want to get Excel workbook or from here using Get Data, you can actually directly get it from here. You can as well click on this button. So the beauty of most Microsoft products, especially Power BI Desktop, is that you can do the same thing in many different ways. Okay, if I was getting Excel in, I can easily click on Get Data and choose Excel Workbook, and it will take me to my folder, and I can get whatever I need to get here. Okay. But if I don't want to use this Get Data option, I can equally click on this Excel workbook, and it's just the same thing. Okay, that it's going to bring me to also one leg catalog, which is all these different data sources here. Okay, could be that you are getting data from maybe the workspace, maybe data that has been Power BI that has been published before, from data mart, from lakehouses, KQL warehouses, SQL database. I'm not very familiar with all of them. It's just maybe 2 or 3 of these that I am familiar with. You see there is SQL databases here, but there's also SQL Server here for those that your work has work with SQL. You would be getting data from SQL. Okay. And you know how I said that it's not all the time that you get data from external sources. Sometimes you can create your own data. So by clicking on enter data, maybe you want to quickly create your data from within, like manually enter data within. Using that create table button, I can just type, maybe that's my first column header, and then that's my second one. And I can, keep on filling as much as I need to fill. You just click on each cell, and can manually enter whatever that you want to enter. You can give your table name here and just click on load. Okay, and that creates that table for you. I'm going to cancel this because that's just jargon that I have created. Says, are you sure you want to exit? Your changes to the table will be lost. Yes, it's not relevant. I hope I haven't. Okay, there we go. Okay. So that is that about, and maybe you want to, data verse is one. Maybe you want to visit a recent data source. These are the recently used data sources that I have used. Maybe that's where you want to pick from. You can easily pick from there as well. Okay. Then we have transform data. You see, I can't teach all of the different buttons because we have under insert, you have different functions. Under modeling, you have different functions. Under view, you have various functions, and so on and so forth. Okay. But it will be good for you to, get your hands dirty, play around, load data, any simple data in, and play around and see how these things work, because we won't be able to teach everything in Power BI. And the ones you accidentally fall on or just learn because you are clicking up and down, that's one good way to learn, to discover. So treat it for now as your toy, something like that. A new toy you acquired and you want to explore how it works. Okay. Now, enough of the talking. I'm going to, let me remove that. I'm going to get our data in. Like I said, it's an Excel workbook Yes, it is an Excel workbook. I can either click on here or use this. Okay, it doesn't matter, whichever one we want to use. And because I know it's under document and it's data quality, there we go. Data quality, that's the name of it. So it's helpful for you to remember the name of your file, workbook that you want to load, and where exactly you have saved it as well. So I'll click on open. Okay. And immediately I click on open, it would bring us to this dialog box here called Navigator. Okay. It's called Navigator. And as many tables or tabs that you have within that workbook, you will list it here. In our own case, we just have one tab, just that sheets that's listed all of the different columns. That's all we have. Notice that I've only just clicked on this exact sheet one, and it's giving us a preview. So it will show you what you have, just so you can view and see that it's what you are expecting the table to be that you have. Okay. Then if I'm sure that that's what I want to bring in, I will click on this small rectangular or square box that you have by the side. I pick on that. Okay. And if you notice something happen, let me uncheck that. We have a few functions under here that are grayed out because I haven't exactly picked the table that I want to load. At the moment, I'm only previewing the content of the table. But immediately I check this box, all the functions we have down here they lightened up. Okay. And we have 3 options. Load, which means you want to load your table straight into Power BI because the data set is clean. There's no need to do any work on it. You are very confident that it has no issues. You don't need to enhance it in any way. You just want to load and start reporting. Okay. So if that's the case, you will click on load. Okay. Then we have the transform data. The transform data is where you are allowed. It brings you to a point where you can perform different operations on your data, like cleaning it in whatever way you want to clean it, like adding extra column where it is necessary, and so on and so forth. Okay, that is the transform data. And then cancel. Say I don't want to carry on, with this table. It's not what I need. I can cancel that process. That's the third option. Okay. Now, in my own case, I don't want to load directly because even I know I can see from previewing, from what I can see here, that there's quite a few issues with this data set that I need to sort. So I can't choose the load option. I would rather choose the transform data. That is, take me to a point or a place, where I can do some transformation on this data. So I click on that, and it opens a new page that looks a bit different. Okay. Now, if you follow my cursor down to this yellow Power BI logo, you see that we now have 2 pages. The page we started with, where we loaded the data, which is the actual Power BI desktop page. And a new page now, this second one, which just now opened, which it is calling Power Query Editor. That's the name of this page. So it opens us up to the Power Query Editor. Like the name implies, where you can edit your data. Basically, it's a powerful machine, that automates whatever changes. It automates the process. What that means is that if, for example, we change, you see, one of the issues we found yesterday was that David O'Brien, number 6, the email for David O'Brien is not complete. David.O'Brien@email, whereas the rest have email.com. It's stuck at email. Now, if we correct for David and we change that to david.o'brien@email.com, if there are more data that are loaded with the same mistake, and we refresh our data, the correction would be applicable for David O'Brien. Anytime the email comes into this data set or into this place, this Power Query editor as this, the moment we make a correction, it would automatically be updated. We won't need to keep correcting that same particular mistake all the time. That's the power of this Power Query editor. It's the automatic corrections it gives. You only need to do the work, the major work once, and the rest is history. Just with a click of this button, it keeps, your work going. Okay. So again, like any Microsoft product, we have file, which is not very different from what you saw earlier. All these same for options and settings. Under options and settings, you have options and you have that. We saw that earlier. I'm not going to go into that. Then we have home. Under home, we have close and apply. There's a drop-down arrow there. If you click on that, we have 3 options. Close and apply. That is, close this page because I'm done with the work here. Close this page and apply all the changes that I've done. Okay, that's what when you will use close and apply is, okay, close and then apply whatever change has happened on this part to the main body of the work. Okay, apply is don't close, just apply the changes. And close is just close, don't apply. Okay, so many a time, 99% of the time, you'll find yourself using close and apply. Okay, and then if you want to load more data, let's say that this table is not enough. I need to bring in more data. Okay, like we saw with the Get Data button when we were in Power BI desktop, like we saw with this Get Data button, that's exactly what it is with this new source. All the different sources that you can still bring in data from at this point. And then recent source. Can you see it has already added this data quality softnet that we loaded as one of the recent sources, okay? And then enter data, we saw that manual. It says create, it says, it says enter data. Create a new table by typing or pasting in new content. You can actually copy and paste instead of typing manually like I did before. If you've got another document open that you want copied into that table, you can just copy and paste instead of typing manually as well. But it's the same as I showed earlier. Then all your different data source settings, okay, like we saw earlier, you can change permission, you can clear permission, you can edit permission. If your data source changes, okay, the current file we brought in, this is the path to it. It's in my C drive. That's the name for my setting, my computer setting, so to say. OneDrive, it's in documents, and the name of the document is that. Okay. If for some reason I move this document from, I move quality exercise that we are working with, I decided to delete it or remove it from documents and put it in desktop. I would have to come back here. One of the places I can do that is here to change source. That is, I need to change the data source and copy a new part if I can get the part, or simply change documents to, because it's no longer in my documents, to desktop or wherever I decide to keep it. If I don't do that, what would happen is that your data will not be able to connect to the source. Okay, so I'll close this. This particular data set must continue to be able to connect to the source that you brought it from. So if that source changes, you want to ensure that you come back and change it here as well. Okay, so but very importantly, we have, again, a lot of functions that we are going to be seeing how they work as we work more with Power BI and Power Query. So I won't dwell too much on each one of them, because you will forget them until you use and use and use and use repeatedly. Transform, add column, all the different, different buttons there have different functions, sub buttons under them, okay? But very importantly, if you follow my cursor to the right, where we have query settings here. Under query settings, query is the same as table. It's called query in Power Query because the name Power Query anyway. But each of these, you can call it a query or a table that you brought in, So those two can be used interchangeably when we are in Power Query. Okay, so query settings or table settings, properties. The properties of this data set that we brought in says sheet 1, the name of it. Okay, now that's not a very suitable name. It doesn't give us context to what the data set could be about. So you may want to change the name of that data set, okay, to maybe to reflect what the data set is about. Most of the time, your data would have a proper name. If it doesn't, you want to give it a proper name that will remind you of what it is about. And you can change the name by changing it here, or by double clicking or right clicking to change it here, wherever you want to do that. Let me have a suggestion. What name do you think we should give this particular table? I need someone to unmute and look at this data set and what's the best name that we can give it very quickly. What's the best name? What's the best name? Can we hear me? Am I still in class?
Yes.
Okay. What should we give it? We can decide, it's what is recorded on it is the orders of people, isn't it? The orders that people made, that customers made. So if we call it orders table, that's not a bad idea. If we call it IT orders, it depends. Okay. So what should we settle for? Very quickly, please. We've got maybe 7 minutes more.
IT order.
What did you say, Mr. Victor?
Order table is fine.
Order. Okay, thank you. So let's leave it as order table. Okay, we can put the name table if you want. You can leave it just as orders if you want. Okay, so that has changed it here as well, if you observe. Okay, then under that it says all properties. Okay, if I click on, I've never clicked on all properties before. Okay, it's giving us the name of it. Maybe you want to put a description, what it's about. IT products, sales, IT products, orders recorded. This part is not compulsory. In fact, it's the first time I'm doing this part, to be honest. I don't really bother myself. IT orders record or records. Okay. So, but it's nice to, okay, enable load to report, include in report refresh. That's fine. Okay, that gives us a bit more information on it. Like I said, this part is not compulsory. The very, very important part is applied steps. You see, when you are in Power Query Editor, you don't have the luxury of the undo button. Maybe you want to undo your last step that you did, okay, like you would normally have in Microsoft product. In Power BI Desktop, you have these two opposite facing arrows. The undo to the back or redo to the forward, if that's the right name to give it. You have the undo function within Power BI Desktop, but we don't have it in Power Query, okay? But what we have in Power Query is recorded steps. So each step that is taken as you do your work is recorded here, so that if there is need for you to remove a step, you can easily come and undo that step here by clicking that, by deleting so. Okay, that's what that this part is about. So it records everything that you do. Let's look at each step, to be honest. Source. It says the first one is source. And this is about, we brought the data in from the source. Okay, and if you look at the formula bar here, it says we brought Excel workbook in, file content, and it's listed the file part of it. Okay, and all we can see here is the table. We know it was sheet 1, you know, that we brought in. And then if you remember, I opened that navigator thing, you know, when we, well, I can actually, you can click on the side here, okay, to see the step, or you can click on the clock wheel to actually see more, you know, to see more about what that step is about. And remember the navigation where we chose sheet 1, okay? That's what that is about. If there were more and you wanted to change that from sheet 1 to another thing, it gives you the liberty to do that. On the source as well, if we click on the clock wheel, you know, it lists that part properly here. If I wanted to change the part to something else, I can browse and go into my files and change that, okay? And then promoted headers, okay? If I come on the second step, if you observe the second step, look at the table that we brought in. The headers are column 1, column 2, column 3, column 4, you know. So the way it's brought it in is that our actual column headers are on row 1, because remember that customer ID is the column header for this one. Customer name is the column header for this one, okay? So the way it's been brought in originally is that it's demoted the column headers to as if they were the first row, okay? So the machine or the tool, Power Query, Power BI, they are quite intuitive. It could see that that's a problem. So what it did automatically, before, very early days, you would need to do this manually yourself. But it's noticed that, and it automatically promoted the headers for us, okay? So that now you can have the actual headers on top, the actual row 1 in row 1, and so on and so forth. Let's assume that that did not happen, and we had to, let me remove that step, okay? And it brings us back here, and we have to do it ourselves, like promote these headers ourselves. How do we do it, okay? Now, if we come under home, I believe, and we look for where it says you can promote headers, under data type, we have what says use first row as headers. Use the first row, this first row, use it as headers, okay? But I won't just click on that because there's an arrow just beside it. I'll click on that arrow to see all the options I've got. It says use first row as headers or use headers as first row. Most of the time, what you need is use first row as headers. That is that row 1 where you have customer ID, customer name, email currently. Promote it to the top. And then 1001, John Smith, and the rest will be on row 1. So if I click on that, 2 things happen simultaneously, okay? Customer ID and the rest of it came up, as well as promoted header got added. You know, I deleted it before. Got added, you know, to here. And again, it automatically changed our data type. That's the meaning of change type. Change our data type, okay? So let me remove that step again. We go back, okay? Now, I want to see what the second option would have given me. We have seen what use first row as headers did. How about if I say use headers? The current headers we have is column 1, column 2, column 3. If I'm saying use headers as first row, what will happen? You see, it brought all the column 1, column 2 as first row. Okay, Sometimes you might find yourself needing to do that. It's very rare that you would, okay? Now, again, see, instead of promoted headers, it's demoted the headers, the opposite function of what we did earlier. And it has automatically picked the data types, okay, that it feels is suitable, okay? So, but I'll go back to promoted header because that's the right thing to do. Use first row as header. Now, if you don't want to do that here, you know what I said about Power BI or Power Query, there's so many ways to perform the same function. If you don't want to do it from here, you can actually also come to the corner here where you have this table and the arrow. If I click on there, if I click on that corner, there's a whole lot of function, okay, that you have. Copy entire table. If you want to copy this table and paste it somewhere else, okay, copy entire table. Use first row as headers, which we saw here before. We can pick it from here if you don't want to pick it from this top here. You can pick it from the corner. And a whole load of other functions, you know, which are also hidden under all these buttons, you know, somewhere, okay? So I can decide to pick that from here and it gives me the desired result, okay? Now this change type, I'm going to remove the change type just for teaching and learning purpose, okay? Now watch all these tiny, where it says 1, 2, 3, ABC, 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 those are data types. It's just trying to tell us the kind of data that each one of these columns are. If I click on each one of them, you see all the different options of data type. See decimal number, fixed decimal number, whole number, percentage, date, time, time zone, duration, text, true or false, binary, using local, and so on and so forth, okay? Those are different types of data that you can choose from to say, this is the type of data that this column is. For example, when it looks at this customer ID, all it can see is numbers, and that's why it has chosen 1, 2, 3 for it. All it can see for customer name is text, and that's why it has chosen ABC, which stands for text. The same for email, okay? For phone number, all it can see is numbers, and it's gone on to say these are whole numbers, you know, and so on and so forth. For date, okay, all it can see, you can already see the pattern that this looks like date, and it has gone on to choose the calendar. That's the logo for dates there. And for quantity and price, okay, it sees them as numbers and it has awarded number status to them, okay? Now, if I remove that part, what you will notice is that, let me start from the beginning. You will notice now that it's got ABC 1, 2, 3, ABC 1, 2, 3, ABC 1, 2, 3 for each one of them up to the last column. And what that means is that it's not, at this point, it's not very sure whether these are texts or these are numbers. That's why it's giving both options, okay? But again, like I said, most of the time, it will automatically do that step for you. But it will pick those data types for you. It is your job to look through and decide that that is the right data type that you actually want, you know, for each of those columns. And how do you do that? Okay, click on this. Okay, if we are going with number, we just choose whole number for this column. If we are going with text for here, we just choose text. Okay, again, for here, we just choose text. For here, if we are going with number, we choose whole number. If we are going with text for city, we choose text. If we are going with a number for other ID, if that's what we want, we choose a number, okay? That's how you manually do it yourself. I mean, it's okay that the Power BI query does it for you, but it's also good for you to see how it can be done, you know, by yourself, because you just never know the time that you will need to do it yourself. Quantity is number and it's whole number, no decimals there. So I'll leave it as that. Price, okay. Price, different ways that you can look at money, okay. Sometimes that you decimal number, sometimes fixed decimal number, and sometimes whole number. Fixed decimal is currency, can you see? it's got a dollar sign. Okay, so that's the best, that's the ideal data type that one should choose for money. But that's not to say that the rest are wrong. The rest of the numbers are wrong, because it's just about being able to perform the right function. For example, for numbers, mathematical functions are what you'll be performing. Okay. I've used most of this time to explain more of Power BI and Power Query, not necessarily get much done with the data. But what I've done is very necessary, very cogent to your understanding of the steps that will be happening, from this point going forward. I want to give us enough time to go rest before the 9 o'clock class. So I'm going to stop recording